Hello, and welcome to the show. This is our family's true tales of the supernatural. Today I'm going to share my story that started in 2004 and continued through our current time. It's a story that started with my near-death experience and then led to me interacting with ghosts, UFOs, and ETs. Today I'm going to be talking about something that you might have heard me talk about in a previous episode, but I'm still not sure if it was a ghost, an ET, or something else. As I mentioned in the last few episodes, I kept having dreams of interacting with ETs and visiting other worlds. I also mentioned that I saw various different types of things on those other worlds. A few weeks after I dreamed about seeing various robots and clones, I had a bit of difficulty sleeping. I wondered what type of strange thing would happen next in my dreams. I was afraid of getting shot in my dream and that I could actually feel pain from the things that happened in my dreams. It could have been even worse if these actually turned out to be extraterrestrial interactions. If I was actually shot, I wondered if I would feel pain, get injured, or die. I began having troubling dreams, and I couldn't figure out why I kept having dreams with these disturbing themes. Well, let's get into the show, and I'll tell you some more of the stories about what happened to me. So let's get started. Let's get started. The first few days of the month, I dreamed about a type of ground-level fog that approached me. It looked like it crept along the ground and got no higher than 1.5 feet, or 1/2 meter. It was only in a small area of about 50 to 100 feet, or 15 to 30 meters. It seemed to be sneaking around a neighborhood and hiding around the sides of houses and would peek out around the edge of the house as if it was looking at me. But then when I would turn my head to look at it, it would duck back away so I couldn't see it. Sometimes it also hid behind the rows of bushes that were around a house, and it would sneak a peek around the edge of the row of bushes. Then if I tried to look at it and see what it was, it would duck back around so I couldn't see it. Sometimes it was like a blob, and some other times it was like a long snake as it slowly moved along the ground. I remember being uncomfortable and scared of it. The closer it got to me, the more frightened I became. I couldn't figure out why I was afraid, but I only had a feeling that it had ill intent toward me for some unknown reason. A day or two later, I had a similar dream about the black fog again. In this dream, it seemed to keep trying to get closer to me, as if it followed me. No matter which way I turned and tried to walk away, it kept turning and following me. It seemed like it would change the direction it moved to keep moving toward me. I was getting more frightened of it, and I couldn't figure out why. I was getting so scared that I began to run away from it as fast as I could. It kept chasing me and keeping up with me, and it seemed like I couldn't get away from it. It seemed like the more I ran and the faster I tried to run, the closer it was getting to me. It seemed like I couldn't get away, and it seemed like it would soon catch up to me and get me. As it got right up to me and seemed to reach out to me, there was a flash of light, and I woke up. A few days later, I had another dream where I saw this same black fog. As I was dreaming, I saw myself walking in a rocky desert wasteland toward an area with some forestry. As I walked across the desert wasteland toward the forest, I looked up and saw a dark black cloud in the sky. I noticed that it seemed to be drifting in the same direction I was walking. A few minutes later, as I got to the forest, I noticed the black cloud was drifting down toward the ground. I tried to make my way to the forest before the black cloud came down to the ground near me. I wanted to get to the forest in case I needed to take shelter. I was a bit relieved when I entered the forest and walked a little way into the forest. I looked back and saw that the black cloud had arrived at ground level and seemed to be moving along the ground. It seemed like it hugged the ground and crept along through the forest. As the billowing black mist crept along the ground, it looked like low-level black fog. The black fog seemed to make a slow billowing motion as it flowed across the ground. It moved like a flood of water in slow motion. As the black fog got closer, I saw it creeping along the ground toward me. I thought it seemed odd that it didn't spread like fog and block my view of the surrounding area. Instead, it stayed within 2 feet of the ground. As the black fog moved toward me and touched my legs, I heard whispering voices. It sounded like there were many people whispering around me. I looked around, but I didn't see any people around me. I only saw the black fog billowing across the ground. I tried very hard to listen so I could figure out what the voices said. I noticed they seemed to talk about how they hated me and people like me. They also mentioned that they wanted to hurt me, beat me up, and kill me if they could. I sensed that this black fog was evil and that it wasn't one big creature. It seemed like there were many creatures that made up the black fog. I got a little afraid of the strange and hateful words whispering about me, so I tried to walk away from the black fog. As I attempted to walk away, I could sense the whispering voices saying that they didn't want me to get away. Some voices said that they wanted to stop me. I got even more fearful and I ran so the black fog wouldn't be able to interact with me, and I hoped to get away from it. I hoped to get away so I would never interact with it ever again. As I was running through the black fog, a part of it seemed to move up from the ground like a tentacle. It formed a long stream of black smoke and reached out for me. The black stream felt like a hand holding my leg to restrain me from leaving. Another tentacle of the black fog reared up and lunged at me, hitting me like a strong punch in the stomach. I tried to run away again, but another tentacle of the black fog grabbed my leg to restrain me once again. A part of the black fog reared up from the ground again and began punching me. I tried to hold up my arms to block the punches, but it didn't seem to help much. I tried to hit back, but I only felt the intangible cold stream in the air and didn't seem to hit anything. I tried to get up, but the fog kept grabbing my leg, pushing me down, and punching me. It kept doing this again and again. I realized it had knocked me down several times, so I stayed on the ground while propped up on my arm. I hoped it wouldn't be able to keep pushing me down if I stayed there on the ground. There was a pause in the beating, so I tried to crawl away, but the black fog was quick to stop any attempts to escape. The black fog picked me up by the middle of my body and slammed me on the ground a few times. I felt pain throughout my body when that happened. I felt like I couldn't get up or move around anymore. As I lay there on the ground, another long tentacle of the black fog grabbed my leg and dragged me across the ground. It kept dragging me through the rocky desert wilderness toward an area that had a few sparse trees. I was sore from the beating and from getting dragged across the ground as well. As it dragged me through a short section of the desert wilderness, it seemed to drag me toward a small storage shed. The shed had concrete for its walls, floor, and ceiling. As I got dragged toward the shed, I heard the whispering voices speaking to one another. They were trying to decide what to do with me. They wanted to interrogate me. It also seemed like they didn't mind getting violent with their interrogation. As it dragged me into the shed through a doorway, I felt the smooth concrete floor as I was sliding across it. I then noticed that the dark entity grabbed my leg and lifted me off the floor. It held me in the air with my leg lifted high up in the air. My head was hanging down, but I couldn't reach my hands to the floor. I could sense that they were asking me who I was and what I was doing there. I didn't seem to answer fast enough for them, so some billows of black fog lunged out and punched me with blow after blow. They didn't seem interested in my answers because I couldn't get a word out before they would hit me again. It stopped punching me for a moment and left me on the floor. It seemed like it was contemplating what it would do next. As I lay there on the floor, I wanted to move myself toward a wall so I could prop myself up against it. I scooted toward the wall, but my movements were slow. As I reached the wall, I propped myself up and leaned against it. The black fog didn't seem to want to allow me to move around, so it grabbed my legs again to lift me up from the floor. It then started slamming me on the floor and slamming me against the wall. It kept doing this over and over again. I became so sore from getting slammed around that when it finally stopped, I couldn't move at all. I lay there in a semi-conscious condition. It was a struggle to breathe while I lay on the floor. I didn't want to move or get up since I hurt all over my whole body, and any attempt to move only caused more pain. I was also a little afraid that if I tried to move, I would only invite more beatings. The black fog seemed to want more information from me, so it kept slamming me on the floor again. I was in so much pain at this point that every part of my body was hurting, and I could no longer raise my arms to protect my head. My head hit the floor, and I could no longer fight to stay conscious. I blacked out and was unconscious for what seemed like a few minutes. The black fog left me laying on the floor when I blacked out. As I regained consciousness, I noticed my whole body was hurting and I couldn't move a muscle because of the pain. I couldn't even open my eyes because of the pain. As I sensed I was laying there, I tried to open my eyes as best as I could. As I tried to open my eyes, I noticed I was no longer in the concrete shed, but I was waking up in my bed in my bedroom. As I passed out in the dream, I seemed to wake up in real life. What seemed strange was that it didn't seem like a mere dream because as I awoke, my whole body was in pain. I was still hurting all over my body, and I was in so much pain that it seemed like I couldn't move. I didn't want to move because trying to do so seemed to increase the pain. I wondered if ghosts or demons had attacked me in my sleep. Or since I was visiting other worlds, maybe it was some type of extraterrestrial. I couldn't tell. I also wondered if something traumatic had happened to me that I couldn't remember. I also wondered if a spirit had made me have the dream so it could attack me in it. I tried to roll over in bed, but it was difficult to move because I was so sore. It was as if I was in slow motion as I tried to get out of bed and sit up. Eventually, I sat up on the side of my bed. I then tried to stand up so I could get myself dressed in the morning, but I felt sore all over my body. It was a struggle to get my sore and tired muscles to move again. It took a while for the pain to wear off and go away as well. I gave more thought to whether demons or ghosts or ETs had attacked me. As I thought about it, I noticed that the pain was still there for a few minutes. It felt like someone had actually beat me up in real life. I had this dream in early February of 2006 because I remember the cool weather. It got cold that night, and it got colder overnight and into the next morning. I also remember that it was right after I left my job as a maintenance man at an apartment complex. I thought the stress had caused these nightmares. I could understand a sore neck or back, but why was my whole body sore? After I quit my job as a maintenance man, I did some painting with our paint contractor. I enjoyed working with him for years. I still can't tell what it was that I saw, though. I can't tell if it was an extraterrestrial, a demonic attack, or attacks from ghosts, or a manifestation of some psychological issue, or possibly something psychokinetic. I'm not really sure which it was, or which it most likely could have been. I believe that psychologists might give a different diagnosis and analysis of the entity that I encountered. They might give a few potential explanations for this type of dream. I also know that some psychologists might give a diagnosis and analysis, something like this. They would say the attacking black fog entity might represent various difficulties I encountered in my life at the time. The entity might also represent my subconscious mind, or you could call it my ego, or shadow self, or the inner mind. It could have been my inner mind working out its frustrations related to wanting to get its needs and desires fulfilled. It could also be that the black fog is me, and that I'm afraid of my own power or the power of my negative thoughts or actions. Then again, since I had an NDE in the autumn of 2004, I really did start experiencing various forms of paranormal activity at the time. I saw ghosts, apparitions, and I heard various forms of unexplained sounds. So it could have been a ghost trying to communicate with me, or the spirit could have been angry or was attacking me. Then again, it could have been a type of ET that was trying to communicate with my mind during a dream. Perhaps my mind simply misrepresented what the ET was trying to communicate to me. Who knows? Maybe it could have been an ET that didn't want us violent humans to bring our violence to their part of the galaxy. To this day, I'm still not sure what it was that I encountered. Then again, Sigmund Freud or Carl Jung have some interesting ideas on what dreams might mean. As one or both might say, sometimes a dream is simply a dream. Yet Jung seemed to also think that some dreams might have greater meanings. He realized that some dreams seem to show a few different things. Some could be a window that reveals what's going on in a person's life. Some dreams might be linked to psychic or prophetic abilities and seem to generally go beyond mere thoughts in our minds. There are also some psychologists who have noticed that dreams correlate to events in our life. Some of these psychologists have shown their skills with dream interpretations, and they've shown it on TV shows and in their writings. Some have even written extensively to give the interpretations of many types of things you might see in a dream. I could point to the website called Dream Moods. You can see that website has many listings and could be considered an encyclopedia or dictionary for dreams or dream imagery. A good example of these dream interpretations could be if you dream that you're standing on an old dirt road. If the road is straight, then it likely indicates that you are living a good, straight, and moral life. It could also mean you are a straight shooter and always tell the truth openly and honestly. If the road is crooked, it could indicate that you are either a crooked person or a crook. It could also mean that your life has a lot of twists and turns in it. There are several psychologists who have been on television shows who interpret dreams. They can usually be very precise and accurate about the things those dreams point to. Well, here's my honest assessment of this dream that I had. I'd have to say that to this very day, I still can't tell what it was that I encountered. I know for sure that when I woke up from the dream, my body felt really sore, like I had really been beat up. Another interesting part of this story is that this might not have been my only encounter with the black mist entity. I had seen it in dreams a few days before that violent encounter, and I think I encountered it a bit later. Yet that's another story, and I'll save that story for another day. Well, at this time, let me give you a bit of a teaser for the next episode. You see, after this dream, I eventually had some other dreams with science fiction themes. Some of those ended up with me witnessing warfare with weapons and devices that I had never seen in real life. Some of it even involved more robots. Some of those robots were different than any I've ever seen, and different than the ones I saw in my previous science fiction related dreams. I'll be telling you about one or two of these warfare situations in the next one or two episodes. So you might want to be on the lookout for those episodes. You might also want to brace yourselves as I discuss and illustrate the things that I saw in those encounters. Another interesting thing that happened this week, and I'll probably put it in another episode in the future. This week I had another dream where I visited another planet. Over the last few years, I haven't had dreams where I visited other planets until just recently. I'll talk about this in the future and what stopped me from dreaming of traveling to other worlds for a while. I'll also talk about how I started traveling again and what caused it. Like I've said, this is a long story that is a slowly unfolding saga that has been happening in my life since the year 2004. I've even had a few extremely interesting dreams over the last few months and over the last year or so. I'll be making episodes about those things in the future as well. Most likely, that will be in the next season of the show. I feel like I've been slowly getting my life back on track over the last few years, and I'm in a much better spot these days. I can also tell you that the next season of the show is going to be very interesting. I'm hoping that some very interesting UFO disclosure information has come out by then, but you never know. I've heard that we're near a big disclosure moment a few times over the last few years, and then everything fizzles out and nothing happens. Yet I've seen more this year than I thought I'd ever see. So I hope more is on the way. So if more comes out soon, you can just remember that I tried to brief you folks on this stuff. Well, at least I tried to give you some information on these issues and give you a heads up. I gave you a heads up on the documentaries by the doctor whose name I can't mention. I'll put the names of his documentaries on the screen. I'll also put some links to those documentaries in the description below this video. The doctor also mentioned that if you watch those documentaries, you'll know more than many people in the United States Congress. So if you want to get up to speed on this issue, then you need to watch those videos. If you watch those videos and you're thirsty for more, just post a comment in the comments section below this video and ask for more videos by the doctor. He makes some live stream videos sometimes, and on rare occasion he gets interviewed, but usually people that interview him are either censored or threatened. Well, enough about that. Let's move on to the end of the show. So please remember, as always, to click the like button to show that you appreciate these stories. You might also want to click subscribe or follow on Rumble so you can catch more of my stories in the future. You might also want to click the bell and set it to all so you make sure you never miss an episode. Feel free to leave a comment below and tell me what you like about the show. You're also free to tell me about some of your paranormal stories or real-life encounters or sightings. Let me know if I can share your story on an episode and possibly make some illustrations to go with it. If it's okay for me to share your story, please give me a long, detailed account of the story with as many details as you can remember. That's all for now, so I hope to see you in the next episode of Our Family's True Tales of the Supernatural. Goodbye for now.